Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Edge of Becoming podcast, episode 6. So today we have a very special guest. We have a young lady named Amber Clark. Amber is a fitness model and a bodybuilder. She's also a coach, and she also does like a whole bunch of things in the background as well. So the backstory to Amber is I met Amber back in, I think it was 2024. When I was on the Gold Coast doing a photo shoot with my own fitness coach, and Amber was in the middle of prep, coming towards the end of prep before her first show. And I was just really struck with her level of determination, her commitment towards her goals, and the way that she just approached life with so much zest and excitement and a deep desire just to literally live her best fucking life, like to go all in on her goals. And it was really inspiring. And she's just such a sweet soul. And I've loved watching her journey online as she's then gone into competitions and gone into prep mode. And for those of my audience who don't know what that is, it's basically where she's prepping for a comp. So it really means being mindful and disciplined with her nutrition, her training regime, really having like a targeted approach to her desired outcome, which is, a particular kind of physique for competition. So when she talks about prep, that's what she's referring to. And then, of course, after prep, the body has to recover. And so then she's gone through that phase. And then now what she talks about is being in a build phase where now the goal is shifted. Rather than getting smaller and leaner, it's actually about refueling the body so that she's eating more food to build more muscle to, again, change her physique and the way she presents next time on stage. So for those who aren't particularly interested in, the fitness world particularly, or bodybuilding, there is so much for you to take from this episode because there are so many parallels to committing towards any goal, whether it's fitness, whether it's health, whether it's career, whether it's self-love, like everything intertwines. So no matter where you're coming from, if you're interested in pursuing a goal, if you are wanting to move towards something that you are passionate about, that inspires you, it requires you to shift into the identity that matches that goal. And that's what you're going to get out of the podcast today, is a real sense of, the goal that Amber had. She had to become a match to that mindset wise, behavior wise, what her environment looked like. Everything had to come together to create almost like the perfect conditions. Not that anything is perfect, but in saying that, she did a pretty good job of creating this perfect environment for which she could really thrive and do the best that she could do in her competition. So yeah, I'm sure you're going to get a lot out of it. Like I say, regardless of where you're coming from. And I would love to hear your feedback in the comments. And of course, please like and subscribe to the podcast. We are very new, but I have big things planned for 2026. Yeah, enjoy the episode. Well, Amber, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to speak to you. And as you know, I have been stalking you for months to try and get you here. But yeah, I'm so grateful to have you here. And I just really think that where you're at in your journey, I think actually it's great that this has been delayed because you've gone through some competitions, you've had a whole bunch of experiences. And so when I started to reach out to you, you were in the thick of it. And so I actually think that it's so good that we're meeting now because I imagine that you've had so much time to reflect and you would not even be the same person that you were then. So yeah, and that's why I really wanted to bring you on board to really talk about what it involves to be a bikini model, to be in the fitness world, all of the things. And really a lot of the work that I do with my clients and my audience is to talk about identity and what it takes to actually become whether it's a pro athlete, whether it's, a professional in the medical field, whether it's to embody self-love, like all of that is about an identity, and we have to work really hard at that. So I seen you on your journey, and I loved watching it. So I just wanted to invite people into, yeah, maybe get a bit of a taste of that and to build some wisdom, by just hearing from you. So yeah, I'm so grateful to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
So, yes, so I compete in FMG. I'm currently, like, right at this point in my build season, so building to be even better than what I was. But my most recent show was in October last year, where I competed in Dubai in the pro show, where I came third. It did take a lot to get there. But yeah, before that, it's hard to go backwards, I feel.
Yeah.
Well, I started in 2024 in December, where I did my very first show in Bali and I placed third. I then got the itch and carried on into 2025, where I competed. I flew to London and that's where I won my pro card. I then came back, went to Worlds in the pro lineup amongst the best of the best in the world. I got a call out. I didn't place in the top 10, but to me, that, like, just being in that lineup was everything. That's when I thought I was finished for the year, but my heart told me otherwise. I wanted to keep pushing. So that's when I carried on and flew to Dubai and placed third in the pro show. And now I'm doing what I need to do, which is to grow. So I'm entering my first ever build season. I'm going to take a very long off season so I can come back and, reach my goal. And that's very, very up the top.
Yeah, and I want to come back to that later because I think that that's one of those misconceptions that people might have around the body and what's good for the body. And as you kind of talk about going into a build phase to do better, competitively, like people don't understand that. So this is why I think it's so cool to actually have these conversations to dissolve some of those myths and ideas that people have around health and around the physical body.
Yeah.
When you talk about, back in 2024, when you went into your first competition, tell me, like, what was driving you back then? Like, what was it that called to you to even enter into this industry?
So I've always been a dancer. Performing and, putting on a show for everyone has always been my passion since I could walk.
Yeah.
So when I started growing up and, entering the health and fitness lifestyle, and then I saw that I could be healthy and fit, but then also put on a bikini and perform, I was like, well, that's the two things I love, two and two together. It makes sense.
A no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. And then I've always been a very driven person. So I entered the space and obviously I was a little bit blindsided of like how much it actually takes to be successful and what you have to do. But I just became so obsessed with that drive and I just became so obsessed with wanting to do more and be better, and then now I'm just addicted.
I love that. And that word obsession is something that I have started using a lot with my clients and my audience, because I think that when you're choosing to move towards something, you actually have to become obsessed with it in order to make that like a focus for you.
Definitely.
Yeah. And how did that go? Like, did you have, and some people are naturally like driven where they just become obsessed with things. Like I'm an obsessed learner. I'm like very growth driven. So I actually have to pull myself away from it. But for other people, they might struggle to kind of become obsessed, so to speak, because there are so many external factors that come in and try to pull us out of our obsessions.
I guess, like, yeah, when I put my mind towards something, it's like I get so fixated on that one thing. But then I learned to get to that end result. It wasn't just about training in the gym. There was dieting, there was learning how to pose. Like it's not just as simple as going into the gym and then you've got a six pack and now you're on stage. And just even the mindset about like the discipline and recovery is just as important, and simple things like sleep. And it's just so much more than what people think that, oh, she looks beautiful on stage, because there's that one day of glamour. But my first prep was 28 weeks. So it's 28 weeks of constant ticking the boxes every single day for that few minutes on stage.
And just to give people a bit of an insight about what one day might look like for you, because that was when I actually met you, and I know that your day was like hectic. It was so dedicated and focused. Yeah, just give us like a day in the life of Amber early on when you were, in this obsessed phase.
Yeah, so I would wake up at 3 a.m. every morning, go to the gym straight away. I would, depending if I had cardio or steps, would depend on how long my session is. I also do have a secondary job that not many people know about, but I do dental nursing as well. So that's a 10-hour day on top of my coaching. I would then go back to the gym to finish off whatever I couldn't get done between 3 a.m. and when I started at 7. And then I would come home and try and wind down before. Oh, at that time I was also still dancing. So I'd also have dance to go to, which I've now given up because my passion's now bodybuilding. And then, finally get to bed to then wake up the next day.
Yeah. So it really is like this all-encompassing thing. As you're on that, in that journey, and I know that internally you've really described having like a mindset that was quite like focused and driven. And for some people, that will be the part that they struggle with. Like some people just, their mind creeps in and tells them all kinds of things like, oh, it's only one chocolate. Oh, it's only one day off. Oh, you deserve to have a rest.
Oh, talking about in the food compartment, I was like so obsessed that if I'm weighing out my food and it was 0.1 gram over, like I would pick that rice out because I wanted to know at the end of the day that no matter the placing, that I had given it my all, because I didn't want to look back and go, well, what if that day, say I came third in my first show, I didn't want to look back and be like, well, what if I did that? And what if I didn't do that? Then maybe I would have won. So I went in knowing that I ticked every single box, that I brought my absolute best. And that's, at the end of the day, I could not have been more proud. The placing was just a cherry on the top.
And I remember you saying that, and the parallels between fitness, like bodybuilding, and life are just so obvious to me. Something about when I met you, you mentioned, I just want to do the best I can. And that stuck in my mind. And I remember it had a really profound impact on me, just thinking, well, what would it look like if I actually gave it my all? In not just with whatever my goal was at the gym at the time, but with everything in life. Like I started to think about what would it mean to really go all in and become obsessed with whatever my goal was. And I loved that about you when I heard you speak to not wanting to have any regrets. And it's something that, like, as people age in life, like when people are on their deathbed, the regrets are the things that they didn't do, and when they didn't go all in. So yeah, I just think that's so cool that at your age, which I think you've just turned 25, is that right?
Yes, last week.
But you have, and happy birthday again. That you have that mentality. Like, where does that come from?
Honestly, I've just grown up in a beautiful family all my life. They give everything their all, and they've always inspired me to do that. And I would rather at least have a go at something and try than live in the unknown of what if, really. And if I try and I don't like that, or, at least I can say I've given it a go and not live with that what if in me.
Yeah. So I imagine that you have a range of challenges, because on the one hand, I hear you talking and being so driven, and it's such a like powerful mindset and determination. Where have some of the challenges been for you on this journey?
The challenges, honestly, in my bodybuilding journey, my challenge has been this phase that I'm in now. Prep for me is like everybody's different, but prep for me, I just thrive in prep. You thrive, you always, even though I have an end future goal now, I don't have that goal of getting on stage in X amount of weeks' time. Whereas back then I did. And, you know, every single day you're just fixated on that one day. I don't have a date or timeline right now. I'm just building until I think I've built enough to be as successful as I want to be. But mentally, for someone who was obviously in prep, you're not eating as much every day. You're waking up and you've like, oh, I've got a new vein. Oh, I've got my abs popping. Oh, this. Whereas now it's like, oh, the scale's going up, or you've got to eat more, and it's just like a little bit mentally challenging, but at the same time,
Your mind says what? Like, what are the mental battles that you have to deal with?
well, now I've just changed my mindset and I'm loving this phase more than ever. But you have to remember that you're not going to get to where you want to be if you don't put on that size. And now instead of being like, oh, where's my abs? I'm like, oh, look how juicy my peach looks today. And you just, you just have to embrace the season you're in, because the build season is actually far more important. This is what sets you up for a successful prep. Yeah. And I'm trying so hard to hold myself accountable and show this season too, because a lot of athletes, they love showing their prep phase because of how incredible they look. But, they enter their builds and they drop off the face of the earth. So I told myself, no, I'm going to hold myself accountable. I want to show my whole entire journey to everyone. Be a role model as a professional athlete. When the time comes and I'm ready to go back into prep, you can see the importance of the changes that I've made from taking a very strong off season, I guess.
Because what's the risk for other athletes? Like, if they didn't adopt that mindset that you have of like, I'm going to embrace this phase, where is it that they struggle? Because I've, heard that a lot. And, for people that maybe have like eating disorders, body dysmorphia, psychological challenges as such, and maybe some depression and anxiety around going from being this in peak conditioned state to then having to put on weight to become healthy. What are some of the challenges that those athletes and those individuals might have, in terms of their mindset and what they believe about putting on weight? Like, what would they be?
I think a lot of people maybe think when they get into a build season that, oh, I can eat whatever, like flexibility, because you do have that I guess you have a little bit more flexibility than being in prep, but you've still got to eat the right foods and you still have to do it the right way. So it's like, if you actually stick to hitting your macros and just eating the right foods in larger amounts, then I'm going to go eat a donut and so and so. If you're going to eat like that, you're going to feel like crap and probably not look the best. But if you're going to actually stick to your macros, it'll all go to the right areas where it needs to go. I feel like having that mindset of I'm in a build, I can be more flexible. Because yes, you can be flexible, but to an extent, I believe.
Yeah. So you have that one extreme where people will be like, oh, I can be flexible. I can go eat the donut now. And then that's not going to serve them. And I imagine on the other end, and I don't know if this is something that you might have been challenged with initially, is as your body puts on weight, the mind might start to say that that's bad and want to continue to restrict one's diet, like when you have been so restrictive in that it's been targeted, not depriving, but more, targeted in terms of what you're consuming. Like, the risk is that people then might fear putting on weight.
Yeah, like obviously you've been little for such a long time. So I think it's just naturally you're going to have those thoughts. But also, stage lean and that weight is not sustainable. It's not real life. So then you have to take a minute, like a step back for a minute and be like, okay, that was for a day. That is not how you're meant to live. Like, that is not normal. I am now happy. I'm healthy. And yeah, honestly, it's definitely a mind thing. And as soon as that switch flicks,
Mm.
you're going to live a happy life. I feel like it's really, really important so you can enjoy the build phase.
Yeah, which is just interesting because when I think about, I'm 45, so I'm like 20 years older than you. And so when I think about what we've been taught about diet, about nutrition, about exercising, about what's attractive, what's not, how we should be as women, it's so distorted. Like it's so distorted.
So, like, I feel like I'm so glad that I've come into the health and fitness industry in this day and age because I hear so many traumatic stories from the past and even coaching girls now who they think that under eating is what they should be doing. But no, food is fuel. And I feel like as soon as you understand that, it's like that's when everything just falls into place. Like you're training better, you're happier, you're more energy. It's like just food is fuel.
Yeah, if only we had have been taught that way back in the 80s and 90s when I grew up. We were watching like Jane Fonda videos and it was like, keep working, just keep working to get those abs. But it just doesn't work like that, right? So I'm curious, sometimes when we get obsessed with a goal, whether it's fitness, whether it's business, whether it's anything growth driven, it means that we have to make sacrifices in life.
Definitely.
And I wonder, what kind of sacrifices have you had to make to go on this journey and to go all in?
For me personally, like in prep, I still feel like I want to give myself to my friends and family. I love being around everyone, and I don't feel like prep you need to sacrifice too much as long as your mindset is strong. Like I still went on a family holiday to Airlie Beach and Hamilton Island with my family, but I took my meal prep to every breakfast, lunch and dinner outing. So you don't need to take yourself away from those events. I still try to put myself out there, but you just need to be strong enough to just take your own food. Like, so I guess I sacrifice eating out, but I guess the company's still there. Same with like friends' birthdays or events. I would just drive separately, take my food, and my friends that would be understanding that if it hit a time of the night that I didn't want to be there anymore, I would just leave, but they still would appreciate me showing up rather than just ghosting altogether.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's sacrifices, but you don't have to sacrifice too much.
Yeah. And I think what's really interesting is you really are describing a supportive community around you, like your family and your friends.
The support crew is everything. I am so grateful for my friends and family. I've heard a lot of stories of people that don't get that support, and I feel like that would then be very challenging, and that's probably why I do thrive in prep, because they're all my number one supporters. They all want me to do better. They all understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's very nice. That I can't personally speak on people who don't have that support because I am very lucky enough to have had that support. But I feel like you do need to have those conversations. Like I've explained everything to all my friends and family, and that's why they do get it. And say I do want to leave, or maybe that one occasion I was a bit tired because I've had a big week. You just need to have that open communication, be honest, and
Yeah. And have you ever had times where you've said, hey, this is my goal, this is the thing I'm working towards, so this is what I need to do to commit, and ever had any like resistance from the people around you where they've maybe said, oh, like it's all right, or oh, just this one time? Like, have you ever had those situations?
at the very start, like I guess if we take back to when I entered the whole FMG community, I did lose a few friendships of people who I guess weren't supportive, but I did actually cut them out straight away. And that's when I'm like, I don't need you guys if you're not going to be supportive of my dreams. And then I entered the community, and now I've literally got my best friends for life. Like you just meet like-minded people. It's honestly so beautiful. Like just my friends that I've got now, who are in the industry. I could not imagine my life without them. I have all my other friends too, but the community is, yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, which is really hard to do. Like, I have to say, you make it sound simple. Like, you make it sound really simple because I think that it sounds like you're in such a beautiful place and you've done so much to get there. And I think it's important for people to understand, like, you made decisions like that. Like, you chose to cut people out and to end friendships that weren't supportive. And some people are afraid to do that.
Oh, it like honestly, as soon as I started like doing well and I noticed that people didn't like that, they're the ones I was just like, I don't need you in my life. And yes, it was hard, but I'd just come home and I'd tell my mum everything. So mum knows it all. And I would just talk to her and yes, you don't need those people in your life. You need people who are going to lift you up and want to see you at the top. And I feel like if you don't recognize that, then you are going to get into like a rut and just it's not going to be very nice.
And I think that the important thing is it's to be willing to do the hard things. It's like being willing to like cut people out that aren't supportive. And often what I find is people then fear, well, what if I'm alone? What if I have no one? What if, all the what ifs? And in those moments, I think it's important to trust. I trust that there are going to be people that are like-minded. I trust that if I let go of these friends that are trying to kind of hold me back at where I was and are stopping me from soaring to where I want to get to, I trust that there's going to be people here that will fill those roles of friendship.
Absolutely. And have all that trust because I can 100% tell you there will definitely be people. And even if in the moment you don't feel that, there's people that I talk to on Instagram, like these like girls in the industry, and I feel like I've actually personally never met them, but I feel like they're my sisters because we talk every day on social media, and we like the day that we all meet each other, it's just going to be crazy. But yeah, you may not physically be seeing them, but they will be clapping for you so loudly.
Yeah, that is so amazing. And it's one of the things that I love about you because I just see you being so optimistic and so like willing to do what it takes to get there. Sometimes, when I'm depending on what phase of my fitness goals I'm in, I think of people like you and Tani, and I'm like, in order to get to where someone is, if you want to somewhat emulate them, even if you don't want to be like a professional athlete, but you want to feel confident in your body, then, me as just a kind of like a regular person would look to people like you and kind of go, well, what would Amber be doing in this moment, right? When the weights are getting heavy. I had this morning at the gym. The weights are getting like really heavy and I'm a bit fatigued and, there's a lot going on. And it was like in these moments, these hard moments, it's actually when you make the most progress, right? Not
Absolutely.
only physically, but mentally, you're proving I can do hard things.
I love that so much. It's literally what I preach every day. And that's why I try and just authentically show everything like but and especially this season, that's why I'm holding myself accountable because I want to show that I can do the hard things and you have to be able to do those hard things to get to the top.
And in this season of building, and for people who maybe are watching this that don't understand, like what that means is eating extra food that I'm guessing makes you feel kind of physically uncomfortable, which it also means your body is changing and looking in a way that you're not kind of used to. So like, yeah, how is that for you?
Just like a couple of weeks I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to be eating all of that. Like what? But now I love it. I look forward to all my food. You just have to also like have trust in your coach. I guess I trust my coach. We've had conversations. He builds everything to what I need and want. And for example, like because I'm on higher carbs now, I get a lot of my carbs through fruit. Which I enjoy eating fruit. So for me, it's a lot lighter and I don't feel like blur after eating it. You just have to have that trust and be really honest and do what you need to do. Like, don't just copy what other people are doing.
Yeah. And I think that that's so important, right? To have that guidance. someone
Yes.
who's either done it or has coached people through it, that you can, when your mind, when doubt creeps in and says, oh, but is this the right thing? Oh, I'm not sure. When you have that certainty in your coach, your mentor, that person, then you can be willing to surrender to the process.
Definitely. And also, I guess, understanding that food is fuel, because like being able to push my progressive overload and lift heavier weights every session, there is no way I could be doing that eating next to nothing. Like my strength's already increased so much, and builds really aren't scary if you do them properly. Like I am loving this one so much, and I'm just so excited to see all the progress now.
Yeah. And tell me where, like, so if we look at this fitness journey that you've been on, which is also lifestyle,
Yes.
where is this shift in focus, this drive, this determination, seeing what you were able to get to? Like placing third is so amazing, especially in your first competition. So cool. And then to go into, like, was it Worlds?
My second show was in London. I flew
Yeah.
to London by myself. That's where I won my pro card.
Yeah.
And then, yes, Worlds was 2 weeks later, and I was like, I just got my pro card. I'm like, I'm going to be standing amongst all these professional athletes
Yeah.
2 weeks after getting my pro card on the world stage. And I was so scared. I was like, I'm not good enough, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, no, I am good enough. I just need to get up there, do my best, and get some feedback, which is exactly what I did. So now I can take the time to be at the standard that I want to be.
I just love the way you're like, I'm just going to go in and do my best and, and I'm just going to see what happens. And whatever comes of it, I'm either going to feel really great that I gave it my all and I look at what I've achieved. And then any feedback, I'm just going to use that almost as fuel. Again, it's almost like the fertilizer, it's like, this is a really bad like analogy, but it's like, horse shit. It seems like it's a gross thing, but when we put it back into the soil, it serves as a fertilizer. So when we get feedback, people look at it as this negative thing, but it's actually a fertilizer to actually have us grow so much more than what we could have without it.
Definitely. You need that feedback. I want to be told, like, don't tell me I'm perfect. I want to be told what I can do, because you can always be better.
Yeah.
And I want to be better. Like, I don't want to be sitting here. I want to keep growing, growing, growing until I've reached the top.
So amazing. So what I kind of wonder, because I'm both a psychologist and a coach and a spiritual coach, so I cover so many different things, and I am just passionate about health and fitness as well, because on my journey over the last few years, I've actually become obsessed with my physical health. And that was a real journey for me to implement the habits. Like the habits themselves were just a personal growth experience, regardless of any outcomes, any results. Like the commitment to showing up at the gym, the commitment to like being mindful of food that I consumed, the commitment to maybe having people around me that were like, hey, come and have a drink at the pub or whatever that might have been, and to choose what my focus was, is actually a parallel to how I live life in other domains, right? I don't see health and fitness as this separate piece. I see it as, for me, it's almost been a metaphor of how I'm living my life in other areas. So I just kind of wonder, what have you learned and how has it shaped you in other aspects of your life, like your friendships, your intimate relationships, or your career goals even? Like, how has the habits and the commitment and the dedication shaped you as a person to support you in other areas of your life?
I guess I used to always be someone who would rely on other people. Like I always wanted to be that girl who was with her friends 24/7, or I just needed people around me all the time. And now, how am I personal space, please? No, but just having that alone time and understanding that I am enough and everything I do is enough. And yeah, even like relationships, for example, I've now been single for the longest time that I've ever been in, because I know what I'm worth and I'm not going to settle for less. And even with coaching as well, I guess those habits of always wanting to be better, I'm constantly trying to evolve and I just want to be the best that I can be. in everything.
Yeah, and I think that that's important to look at, where you are outsourcing your self-worth to be surrounded by people or to need a relationship, maybe to feel loved. And now you have this internal resource. Was there a particular moment or time when that really shifted for you, or it was just an evolution of just over time you eventually kind of felt like, hey, I can actually be alone, I can be with myself, with my own thoughts, and feel enough?
No, I feel like just definitely like literally as soon as I started prepping and when all my focus went into the prep itself, that's when I realized like my own self-worth. And I think it's just evolved over time, and now I feel like it'll continue to evolve too.
Yeah. So again, because I'm always curious, I'm like, let me go deeper. And I guess I just wonder, like, what was it about prep? What was it about you focusing on your own goals, your own passions, like where you're headed in life? What was it about that that made you know that you were enough? And sometimes it's a behavioral thing. It's just by us showing up for ourselves, doing the behaviors, like sticking to a meal plan, going to the gym, sticking with a goal. Like sometimes the action just translates into, hey, I'm doing this because I'm worth the effort. And sometimes it will be a mindset that people have where they start thinking, hang on, I get to put me first. So yeah, it sounds like you're more of like a go do the thing, right? Go with the action, the behavior. And then somewhere in there that translates to, yeah, because I'm worth this. Like I'm worth putting in all this effort.
Definitely. And you do need to do the actions and put everything in. Like if you sit there and do nothing, you're never going to evolve, and you're never going to come out of that bubble. You have to actually put something into it to get something out of it.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference. Like when people actually actualize their goals and their dreams, like you have, is that not only do we have this dream, this desire, something that excites us, and imagining what that could be like, but the action that matches. And that's where there's a real identity shift that goes on within us. Like when we want to become like a world champion, or, an elite athlete, or a professional in some kind of arena, then we have to match that with our actions. Like we have to live it even before we're there. And that's the thing I noticed about you, that even before you had done that first competition, you were living as though the person who won that competition, with your actions. It was easy to imagine you being so successful because of your mindset, your dedication, your commitment, and how you're actually showing up. Like I seen you with a bowl.
I love that. That means so much.
I seen you at this photo shoot where you're eating a bowl of salad and you were so prepped and you just made it seem so effortless because you were just so committed.
I feel like if you want to be, but at that time I was only an amateur, I hadn't done my first show yet, but you need to, if you want to be a pro, you've got to act like a pro.
Oh, that just gives me chills and goosebumps. And I think that's just such a perfect place to leave this. And I could go on and ask you so many more questions, and I'd love to have you back on one day when you're even at a different phase, because I think that you will end up just gaining so much more insight the more that you're on this journey. For me, it's been so cool to just watch you go from like being this amateur to doing such amazing things, and I'm inspired by you. So for people who are watching and maybe just want to follow along with your journey, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is _AmberClark_. I post everything, all my faces. I'm posting my build. Yeah, just take you along my whole journey. There definitely will be a road to stage again. There is no dates yet, but there definitely will be more stage time. But yeah, I've absolutely loved being on and having this conversation with you. As you know, speaking on camera is my biggest fear. Yeah. So you literally talk all day, but I'm so actually proud of myself for putting myself out there and being in this situation. And I would love to come on and talk again and see how much I've evolved over time.
Yay, amazing. And also for those who didn't pick up, like Amber does coaching as well. So if anybody watching is ready to dip a toe in, you don't have to be like a professional athlete or want to kick any crazy fitness goals. If you just want to improve your health, your relationship with food, your relationship with your body. As
Absolutely.
you can hear, Amber has such a beautiful relationship with herself. So yeah, go and reach out if you feel called to.